We can plan all we want, but sometimes life, the universe says, nah, this is what's going to happen for you. This is your mission. This is what it's meant to be. And that's exactly what happened to this week's guest, Christina Olivarez. She is fourth gen Mexican American from the Rio Grande Valley in Texas. She's an award winning entrepreneur and speaker. She's already had a TEDx talk. She's also social media expert and coach, and she's the founder of Hustle and Socialize, which is a conference geared towards Latina and other marginalized women entrepreneurs, where it's a safe space where she brings in speakers. This year will be the first year she's bringing speakers from outside of Texas to bring so much value to those in attendance. So at the time that this drops, whether you're watching it or viewing it, it may already be sold out, but if you're already in the area, you definitely need to make sure to get a ticket and attend. I am honored to be one of the speakers. I'll be speaking on the importance of diversity and new web technologies and basically why should you care. And in this week's episode, we discuss how she had dreams of becoming a newscaster, but the universe had other plans. She never gave up after hearing so many no's. I mean, they were telling her that she doesn't look the part, that she doesn't sound the part, all these different things. So then she just figured out that she needed to create her own opportunity, and that's what she did. We also discuss how entrepreneurs need to understand that perseverance is key because this is not easy. You're going to get the no's. You're going to get those times where you're just like, what am I doing? But you have to keep moving. Also, since she is a social media expert, we talk about the importance of visibility, the importance of taking up space, especially as women of color, and how it kind of just crosses over so many different boundaries when you're talking about personally and professionally. And we also talk about her amazing trajectory and the evolution of Hustle and Socialize as a conference and as a business. She started off with a partner. Her partner went off to pursue her dreams of being in Congress. I believe it's running for Congress. And now she's doing it by herself. And she's young. She's young, kids. She's young and she's already learning so much. I've had the honor of being in a mastermind for 2 cohorts, so which means a whole entire year, and watching how her brain works. She's changed my mind when it comes to being visible, visibility, and showing up for myself, let alone my business, but really myself as a woman, especially Gen X, thinking like I didn't grow up with social media, so maybe I don't understand it. Maybe I don't see the importance of it. Or maybe I see the importance, but maybe it's not for me. Maybe I don't belong in that space. But because being in her orbit and listening to her and seeing how she's been evolving, then I have seen the importance of visibility and I've challenged myself to show up in different ways. Like I'm all about taking up space, but I was like, what does it have to do with me showing my face and telling my story? It has everything to do. So if you want to hear more about this, let's listen to the full conversation with Christina. Let's do this. Christina, yay, you're here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be a guest on this podcast.
This is amazing. And, I was super excited to have you on because we've been for those who may or may not know, we literally just finished being in a mastermind, Wendy Amada's mastermind, for a year.
A year. Can you believe that? 1 full year. It's wild.
It went by so fast.
It went by super quickly. I don't even know where the time went, to be honest.
Right? Yeah. So anyways, okay, that out of the way. So that's why it's like extra levels upon levels upon levels that you're here and we're having this convo. But also because of that, then I've had the honor and privilege to get to know you and see your journey and learn more about you and the impact that you're making. So that's why I felt this was so important to have this convo and have you on so that, more people can understand what you do and maybe see themselves in your story, learn from your story and all that good stuff. But before we get into all of that, let's start off how I start off every conversation. How are you doing? ¿Cómo estás?
I am doing really well. I've had a great week. It's been my birthday month. I've been celebrating. My birthday was on April 8th on solar eclipse day. So I've just been in full celebration mode for the past month.
And you live in Texas, so it
I do.
really went right above you guys, right?
It did, but it was cloudy throughout the whole
Oh,
day. So the clouds did part. It did get dark. We saw a little bit of it, which was so beautiful. But yeah, it was like right down our path.
there must be something special, isn't there? Did you? I'm sure you probably looked it up. Is there something special because your birthday, your born day, it was on an eclipse? That must be like extra points or something.
Yeah, it really felt so. My word for 2024 is energy. And it really
Mm,
felt like everything was in an alignment, everything was energetically lining up. And I guess
nice.
because it's like 33 angel numbers, everyone kept telling me this is going to be a very powerful year for you. So I just sat in those words and like sat in the full gratitude. So it really felt like extra special that celebration.
That's crazy. Maybe that on that day, because it was the 33rd birthday on the eclipse, when you're in the path, maybe like it opened some vortex or something. And then, this is all
Yeah.
happening. Well, that's exciting. Super exciting. So, Christina, so what do you tell folks? You meet someone new at a party and they ask you, what do you do? What's your answer?
My answer is I help you be unapologetically visible online and offline. And you want to know how I do that? Well, great for asking. I do that in a series of three ways. I do that through coaching, one on one and group coaching. I do that through the Hustle and Socialize conference that I host every year. And I do that through speaking opportunities and trainings for executive business leaders.
Fantastic. No
Yeah.
questions asked. Like you already know you get this all the time. You're so visible out there. And so you have this down pat. And this is all I was super excited to ask you this because I wanted people to hear you or watch you and see how you just
Yeah.
boom, 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 right? I'm sure you have like a shorter answer if you need to, but if you people are like, oh, how do you, boom, this is the way I do it. Super
Yeah.
clear and concise, no questions. They can ask you if they want more information, but if they wanted more information, I'm thinking it's because maybe they're more intrigued about it and they want to know more and, possibly enroll and all the stuff that you have. So tell the folks, where were you born and raised and where are
Mhm.
your folks from?
I was born and raised down on the South Texas border in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas. So Texas is a huge state. And if you look all the way down south, like at the tip of the state of Texas, right there in the little middle part of the tip of the state, I was born in a city called Mission, Texas. So was
Mm,
born and raised there, lived there. Amazing. My parents, they're third, fourth generation Mexican American, and so I all I knew was the Rio Grande Valley. I did
mm,
not know anything other than outside of that area. It's a very small town, although it is growing in doves. I mean, it's just massive. And
mm.
I think that when I was a younger kid, the big city was San Antonio,
Oh,
where
wow.
I live now. So
Yeah.
it's about 4.5 hours from Mission, Texas to San Antonio. And so growing up, I'm an only child, and my parents, so my mom was a stay at home mom, and my dad is an attorney. And our vacations, our summer vacations, were always to San Antonio. And in fact,
Ah,
where my husband and I live right now is on the same street as to where we would come vacation. My
no
parents
way.
would bring me to like the museums and everything's like relatively close to where we live. But I was born and raised, and it was just really like humble beginnings, right? But also I could tell that I was destined for more. Like I
Mm,
just knew and I felt that I was destined for more. I wanted to go to New York. I wanted to go be this news broadcaster, right? I loved the news, and I loved being on TV. And most importantly, I love to entertain.
mm,
Entertaining and just being in front of a crowd was my just safe space, really. Like it was my thing. And so it's really interesting to see how everything sort of lined up in my adult life and how I ended up here in San Antonio. And my parents still live in the valley. I just went to go visit them for my dad's birthday this past weekend, and just to see, I was looking at old photos of me when I was a kid, and it's just really beautiful to see how consistent I am as a
Mm.
kid into my adult life. But yeah, I've been living here in San Antonio for the last decade, and I love it so much.
That's a beautiful story, and I saw the photos that you put on your Insta stories of you
Yeah.
as a wee bit child looking super cute, and and kind of knowing some of your story. I think the running theme with almost everybody on that I have on the show is the nonlinear career paths, right? The thinking you wanted something one way, but life in the universe was like, nah, this is for you, right? So
Yeah.
can you tell us your story of you, like you mentioned, you wanted to be a news anchor. How did that go for you? And how did you get to this point that you're at today?
There was two main loves in my life, as I like to say. The first love was television and news broadcasting. The second love was the internet. So as a millennial, we were in that point where we didn't really have the access to the internet, and then all of a sudden, boom, we had the internet in our fingertips, right? For so many years, I would watch these newscasters on television and immediately was like, that's going to be me. I'm going to be on Good Morning America. That's, XYZ, no questions asked. And so when
Right.
I got into college, of course, I majored in mass communication, electronic media, and I did everything that they tell you to do. Go get the internship, go work at XYZ. I was doing
Right.
like 2 or 3 internships at TV stations while I was in school. I was a part of the student run newscasts. I was a part of the radio station. I mean, everything, right? I was so determined to do what I needed to do to get myself in these jobs and in these positions. But when I started to get out of college, every single interview that I was doing at TV stations was really trying to put me into a box. And
Mm.
some of it was you don't look the part. You would have to cut your hair. Your voice isn't as distinct as it should be for a reporter, different things like that. And
Wow.
I struggled so much because all I really wanted to do was just be on TV.
Right.
And I must have applied to over 100 news stations. It felt like over 100 news stations. And in Spanish as well, because I was like, let me try. Like, if I can't get into this, let's try the other door,
Right.
right? And even then, I mean, my Spanish was, I'm Tex-Mex. So some of the Spanish wasn't Univision level or like
Right.
Telemundo level, right? And so every single time I would apply to a job, it was a no, a no, a no, until finally I received an email from this man who found my demo reel on LinkedIn.
Mm.
And he owned a startup company in San Antonio on the north side and said, I'm looking for somebody to be our news and video content director. And I saw your tape, and, maybe that's something you could do for us. So literally, I went to the interview and boom, I was hired on the spot. And
What?
so I was doing, for the first year out of college, I was essentially a news reporter that would create YouTube videos of all the different businesses in the north side of San Antonio. And I would go and I would interview the owners, and it was a commercial that was on YouTube. Essentially, his business was a whole advertising package where he would sell you social media promotion, YouTube videos, right? Which
Ah.
is essentially kind of what I'm doing now in like sponsorship for the
R-
conference, right?
Right.
But for that full year, I was getting myself really just all of the experience with news, with video content, really. And because I had a love for the internet, I was on the internet at the age of 8. I was really heavily like in tune to pop culture. So I was utilizing Twitter, I was utilizing MySpace, Facebook, you name it. I really had a pulse on the trends. And
Right.
that, being able to have that really worked in my favor with this first job. But then after 1 year, I got laid off.
Ugh.
And because it was a startup, right?
Right.
So startups, they cut people, they got to do what they need to do. So I thought, all right, this is my sign to go back and try again. Maybe with 1 full year of experience, I could go ahead and get that job in the TV news industry. So there I was going back, interview after interview, no, 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 no. Like still rejection after rejection. Until finally, my best friend had said, Christina, maybe the reason why you can't find a job is because it hasn't been created. Maybe
Mm.
you have to go create it. And at that time, I didn't understand what that meant. I just thought like, oh, okay, what do you mean? And that's when I started to pivot towards public relations. And I was noticing that social media was starting to become at the
Mhm.
forefront of businesses. At that time, this was 2013, 2014. More and more business owners were getting on Facebook. They were utilizing the social media platforms to market their business. And because I had all of the experience just through my childhood and even through, college, I
Right.
was starting to self teach myself on how to build strategies and develop a personal brand and do all the things. And that's when I launched my blog called The Social Butterfly Gal, where I started to document my experiences in the public relations industry. And that's when I was doing a lot of freelance work with fashion PR and doing, the fashion awards and all the different things in social media in the fashion industry. So much so that I started to build my own personal brand. And
Mm.
because of the blog and because of my Instagram, more and more people were recognizing my expertise. And I started to book speaking engagements within, a full 6 months of having that blog. And then I ended up turning that blog into my own social media agency business. And it's been skyrocket from there, right? I've had so many twists and turns, but I
Right.
think the moral or the main sort of point of the whole journey is that I never gave up.
Right.
I continued to push and continued to fail and try again and get up and, do things and persevere.
Right.
And I feel like that is such a really needed and valuable skill in entrepreneurship that so many entrepreneurs need to continue having because almost now a decade in, I've learned so much just about persevering that I think that one thing of me not getting a job actually allowed me to have the ganas to go for it and do my own businesses.
Right. And
Yeah.
also to be open, like the perseverance, but you also were open to your best friend saying, like, well, maybe what about this, and you were
Mhm.
open to it. And I think that's another thing that I think everyone, young or old, should keep in mind, right? Because the time of growing up and being like, I'm gonna be a doctor, and then that's the one thing and that's it. I mean, we're
Yeah.
human. We have different things. We evolve. If we don't evolve, then what are we doing? And
Right.
you had the nonlinear career path. There were a lot of no's, a lot of blocks, but you're like, well, let me go here. And then if you look back, just the retelling of these are parts of your stories that I have never heard, right? But
Yeah.
now hearing it all makes sense to me. It's like, of course you're doing what you're doing and successful because all the no's put you in
Mhm.
the right position for you to realize, oh, I got this skill, I can do this, da da da, and all that
Yeah.
you've gathered, that data, that experience, to get you where you're at now. And what I learned from you, and what helped me by being in proximity to you, and being in your orbit, is I didn't understand as someone who is a consultant and creative director. I could see
Mhm.
it for other people, but when I was trying to see how that impacted me, a
Mhm.
breakthrough that I had over visibility and
Mhm.
showing up. Something we're like, well, that's trivial. Like, that's just ego. No, 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 no. Like, the
Yeah.
way you put it into context, right? Like, showing
Mhm.
up for yourself, for your business, seeps into, because when you're an entrepreneur, there's no 9 to 5, clock in, clock out. It's your life. It's your
Yeah.
entire life. And so let the folks know why is it so important to show up? What visibility? Why is it so important? And why is it so important to show up authentically? And how can that help you personally and in your business?
One of the things that really came up for me recently that I've been really documenting is around the notion of feeling safe, secure, and supported.
Right.
And I feel like so many of us, when we think about just being visible, speaking up, taking up space, it brings a lot of those feelings up around our childhood, around, sometimes a lot of us were not able to speak up or to take up space. We were
Right.
often taught little. I remember when I wanted to speak up in a room full of adults, it was always like, shh, what, no, let the adults talk, right?
Right. Right.
And I feel like now in this era where we do have a form of microphone, a form of a stage in our hands, it is a disservice to like us, importantly, if we're not speaking up, if we're not taking up space, if we're not being, at the forefront of people's mind, especially for Latinas.
Right.
I really started to understand that more and more as I started to network in different places where I was often the only Latina in the room. And I thought it
Mm.
was always really wild because I live in San Antonio, Texas. This should not be the case, right?
Right.
But it was one of those things where I was recognizing, and I feel like the visibility aspect is in the security and the safety of being your full self.
Mm.
Because when you are your full self and when you are unapologetically visible, it's a magnet. You
Right.
attract the people that you want to attract. You attract abundance and opportunity. And
Mm-hmm.
also, if we're not taking up space, who in the room is?
Right.
Who is, right? And
Right.
that's why I just feel so passionate about helping Latinas really understand their own visibility and show up as their full authentic self. Because when I can see it just by looking at old photos and even just looking at my journey, there was one common theme, and that common theme was I was always showing up unapologetically me. And
Right.
it rubs people the wrong way. Sometimes it really confused me because there I felt,
Mm.
why this, but I never compromised that part of myself. I just always said, take it or leave it, right? And it
Right.
opened doors for me because I was my full self. And so I just believe that, like, we are our own safety and security. And
Right.
once we are secure in who we are, then the shift happens because
Mm.
then you feel like you can confidently step into your power. You can feel supported. There is a
Right.
space for you. And that's really, I think, something that I'm so hell bent on, bullish about. I want to have that for so many Latinas to really step into their power.
Gracias for listening or watching Word to Your Mama. I have a unique cross section of guests on here because I'm a purpose driven creative consultant who thrives at the intersection of creative innovation, technology, and community impact. There are a few ways we could work together. So check out ritzyperiwico.com to learn more. Right. No, it's fantastic because you just see people that are really good at it or that you've gotten over the fear of it and you're like, "Oh, I don't know if that's for me." But I think the lesson that I learned was I can speak in front of crowds. I can do all this, but there's something so intimate and so scary when this happens. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like what? Like it stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, well, what is behind that? And I think the vulnerability that to how do I show up? And I think it's a great exercise for anyone to try to get. It's not like to do it for ego. It's to just be comfortable. It's just like, how do I show up authentically like me? Like, am I going to be the one that's dancing and stuff? No, that might not
Right,
be for me. But what felt good for me, right? It was just being
right.
myself and then it's like practice makes progress, right? Where you
Yeah.
just keep on doing it, seeing what works, seeing what sticks. And then, yeah, as I'm in this part of my life where I'm doing another pivot and it's exciting,
Mm-hmm.
how do people know that I do that? Well, I got to show
Right.
up. And
Right.
how do you show up, right? Whether it's because you have a business, because and you also have this mission and this impact that you want to create. And I think it's different for women of color, for communities of color. Like you said, we need to take up the space. So if
Mm-hmm.
someone sees you, Christina, someone sees you, they're like, oh, someone hears this story, watches this on YouTube, and they're like, oh, I resonate so much. I did it. I can do it too. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
why we need all these diverse voices. So,
Yeah.
that being said, I'm super excited because I get to see you in your element. I've been hearing all about this amazing event. I believe it's the 6th year. Please tell the folks what it is, what's happening, and when it's going down, because the release of this episode will be probably right before this. Hopefully, there's tickets.
Yes, I have a conference called Hustle and Socialize. This is the 6th annual conference. This is the 2nd year that I'm doing it by myself because
Woohoo!
previously in the history of Hustle and Socialize, I had a co-founder, and my beautiful best friend co-founder has since moved on to take up space in politics, which we're so excited about.
Right, right.
But Hustle and Socialize originally got started because of the need for more minority businesswomen to take up space. Every time I was going into networking events or different circles for business here in San Antonio, it was that notion of being the only Latina, or the fact that so many conferences, summits, events, programs were people did not look like me. And
Right,
I got really frustrated. And instead of bitching and complaining about it, I said, let's do something about it.
right.
And we launched the first Hustle and Socialize in 2018. We promoted it in 2 months, and we brought over 150 women to the
Yes.
first event. And it's been growing ever since. And we've had to pivot, obviously, because of the pandemic. But
Right.
then, of course, when my business partner made the decision to leave the company to run for Congress, it was a huge pivot. And this pivot has been probably the most eye-opening experience for me in terms of like my own visibility. But this event is really meant for business women of color to come together, to connect, to be unapologetically visible, and to grow profitable businesses. So we focus in this conference a lot around 3 different tracks: money, marketing, and mindset. Those are the 3 key core pillars that almost every single businesswoman needs to understand. We need to have
Mm,
confidence around our finances, around our money, on the business and the personal side. We need
right.
to, have confidence in how we market ourselves and how
Mm-hmm.
we are seen online and offline. But then most importantly, our mindset is huge. And if we don't
Huge.
have the mindset, then it's going to be super hard for us to make the money that we deserve and to be in these spaces. So this conference is a 1-day event that is just filled with keynotes and breakout sessions and panels and opportunities to come and shop and put money back into
Mm,
our economy from our people, right? It's a conference that's
right,
for us, by us. And
right.
it's just full of energy. Like, I'm a big ball of energy, and this conference is really all about being with like-minded women and being
Right.
in a very energetic area. And I think for me, one thing that I've learned so much that I think has been really interesting to hear from other people is just the notion of being very just being very brave, to have brave spaces.
Mm,
It has allowed so many women to quit their 9 to 5s and get their LLCs. It's allowed for other women to come together and collaborate with one another and do business with each other. It's allowed for speaking opportunities for other people. I mean,
right.
just the incredible impact that this conference has had, not just, these last 2 years, but in the existence of it. is
Right.
something that I'm just so, so proud. And I'm really excited because this year is the first year that we are in a brand new venue. So we've been in the same venue for a couple of years now, but we outgrew that venue. And this year we're going to be on top of a beautiful high rise on the 24th floor that overlooks our San Antonio city. And what I'm really excited about is to bring over 300 women, 300 Latinas, just taking up the spaces that we deserve to take up. And I think
Right.
that that's the most beautiful gift that I could ever have this year, is to have you be a part of it and to have so many women who I admire speak at this event.
I'm super excited. So the event is June 8th.
June
I'll
8th.
have a link in the show notes. Because you're listening to Word to Your Mama, I'll have a discount link if there's any tickets available. And I'm super excited to, it's been, I don't know, since I was a kid that I was in San Antonio. I think I was like
Yeah.
7 or 8. So I'm super
Oh,
excited to see your city again, to be in the high rise, to be in community. There's a lot of the speakers I know personally, a lot I don't, just to expand the network and be in
yeah.
that energy. I'm super excited for what you have built and to experience that. So, Christina,
Thank
let's go into the questions and comments from the audience.
you.
Okay.
Woo! Okay.
First one, it says, she's such a positive force in the world. How does she manage to keep that kind of positivity happening year round? Also, this person says, it's been so amazing to see her grow over the last year. Just a huge applauso for her in stepping into her full confidence. Curious about what's the next best thing that's going to be for her. If she could do anything she could do in the world, what would it be? And I'm confident she'll get it done. And this is from our friend, TK Tunches, founder
Oh,
of Las Ofrendas.
oh, I love TK. Gracias, gracias. So, to answer the first question, I really feel that one thing that has allowed me to keep my positivity going in moments where I just don't feel like it is being in
Right.
full gratitude.
Mm.
It's really understanding that this notion of it could be a lot worse, right? Or like
Right.
bad crap could happen. But I feel like one thing that has really helped me has been meditating and
Mm.
journaling. So every
Mm.
morning, this is a really big tidbit that I love sharing with my clients. And one thing that I do in the morning is I do not look at my phone for 12 hours, meaning at 9 p.m., it goes on do not disturb, and it does not go off of do not disturb until about 9 a.m. the next morning.
Right.
So, of course, you're sleeping. But when I'm waking up, I am not filling my mind with social media or emails or anything. I'm filling my mind up with a really great meditation. I'm filling my cup up with my exercise. I do Pilates every morning in my living room. I do like a 20-minute routine. And then I journal and I spend time in full gratitude to set me up for a really great morning and also a
Yeah.
really great day. And I feel like it is so damn hard to be positive all the time.
Right.
But I am very just reminded by so many people of their love and their
Mm.
just like, care and support for me, that when I see just these little things, it makes me feel like, okay, we can be positive today. This is
Right.
everything. I believe everything happens for a reason. And I just really believe that, like, a kindness to yourself can go a long way. And that really
Right.
helps me stay positive. But I do feel like it can be difficult. It can be hard,
Yeah.
but I think I just like really love life and I really love to celebrate it. And that being in full celebration, like I will celebrate the little mundane things, like these cute little earrings that I got. And, like I'll celebrate everything. And that really keeps me being very positive. Um, and then the second question is, I mean, I at some point I want to have my own talk show.
Yeah.
I still believe that some form of television or some form of media is in my bones, and I
Yeah.
think that because of the fact that we can now own our media.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested in what that looks like from, just a media perspective. Like I feel either starting a podcast of my own or even
Yes,
just having a TV show here in San Antonio
I could see that.
where I'm inviting guests, different things. I still feel like, okay, there's something there. I do at some point want to write a book. I want to have multiple books. I've always said that I wanted to have like a cat cafe or a coffee
Oh
shop.
yeah.
So something that's, I love coffee shops. That's something that I'm so passionate about, but I want a cat cafe at some point. I just want to take over the world.
Of course.
Of course. But yeah, I mean, I was actually talking to my husband just about like media in general and what does that look like in the future? And what does
Right.
ownership of media look like? And so
Right.
I don't know what's in the cards in terms of a media company, but I just feel like there's so many different avenues that you can take it to where you are owning your own media as a media, company. That's something I feel I would definitely love to explore as a coach, as a speaker, as a trainer, as like all the things.
Right. That's fantastic. No, I see that. I could see that for you. I could see you starting in San Antonio and then just like taking over the world, going global because you know, it was surprising when I met you at the first retreat that we had from the mastermind because I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, you're so small. Like you have tall person energy. You're just like this ball of energy. But it makes sense that the self-care that you take for yourself, that the meditation in the morning and the journaling and the not being on social media and on your phone immediately in the morning has been so beneficial to me in the over the past 6 months that I don't know if I would have made it without that. Like I needed that with everything that's happening in the world. That's everything happening, in general. It's a nice reset. It's kind of the great reminder that, like you said, things could be worse.
Yeah.
Things could
Yeah.
be shittier, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're not. Like I'm still here. I still
Yeah.
got this and da 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 da. Like that gratitude space is game changer. Okay, so
Yeah.
the next one is her light gives us all energy. And with that, I'm most proud of her for her ability to shift her thoughts. She no longer indulges in doubt, fear, and insecurities, but moves herself into how can I make things happen and what do I want to create? So,
Mhm.
if you could ask her if she could wave a magic wand, what would she want to create this year? I think you just answered that. But this is from our leadership strategic coach, Wendy Amata, and previous Word to Your Mama guest.
Oh, if I could wave a magic wand, I, you know, what I would want to create is just like more abundance. And that's also in the form of just abundance in finances, abundance in health, abundance in opportunity. One thing that I think surprised me the most is the ability to actually just make so many of the things that I wanted happen. So
Right.
for the longest time, I wanted to do business in California and be in LA and work. And in February, I actually had that opportunity to where I was in California for 10 days and I was coaching my clients from there and they were here in San Antonio. So like, I just really want more opportunity and bigger impact. Like I love my home. I want more people to see the beauty that San Antonio has.
Mm,
And I also want to have the opportunity to just create things that I never thought I could create.
right.
And that is in the form of pure abundance. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's really what I want at this point. Let's create it.
Well, I witnessed what you've been able to accomplish in a year, so I have no doubt that you're going to be able to do that. So now, Christina, let's get into the not so rapid fire questions, aka the slow as hell questions. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do this.
3 words to describe yourself.
Perky,
Yes.
fun,
Mm-hmm.
and just quirky. I'm a quirky person.
I concur with all of those. What's the best piece of advice you received?
Oh, wow. Best piece of advice I've received is don't forget to stop and smell the roses.
Mm, right.
Mm-hmm.
Which can translate to so many things. Just pause, be grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think that's great for us, especially Americans, where it's
Mm-hmm.
always go, 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 more, more, more,
Yeah.
more, more, right? And
Yeah.
we could stop and take a pause and look around. We're like, wow, this is pretty amazing. Like you
Yeah.
taking a pause and being like, when we're at the event and taking a moment, a beat, and looking at the view from the 24th floor and being like, I did this shit.
Yeah. I
I
have a
created
tough
this.
time. I have a tough time celebrating myself, and also just because you are on the go. Like I had a moment where I really had to force myself to celebrate myself. And I had to force myself also, I think, like being around family, it allows me to be like, oh, wow, I've come a long way. I've come
Right,
a long way. And I think just really taking a pause and looking and celebrating who you are is really important.
right. So the next one, what song is your go-to when you need to get hyped?
My go-to song is Gasolina by Daddy Yankee. It
Yeah.
gives me like let's go like vibes. Like I'm already like in my anything reggaeton, right? Anything in that mix. But I'm also a 2000s pop girly. I mean, I can't deny it that I'm a Britney Spears fan. I got married on her birthday. I love Britney Spears. So I'm interesting because it's like really like gasolina, like really in
Right.
it. And then sometimes it's like Lucky by Britney Spears. Such a
Love the
2000.
contrast.
Yeah.
Love the contrast. So those songs will be added to the Word to Your Mama guest hype list, playlist, whatever it's called. You know the deal. It's in the show notes, and when her episode drops, it'll be at the top. And I'm gonna put those two. I think it'll be the first time, maybe the first time that Britney's been on.
Wow.
Daddy Yankee for sure. Gasolina's probably already on there. I no doubt about that. But maybe Britney. I had Taylor Swift for the first time ever from a guest a couple
Oh,
of months ago. So that was a
yeah.
first. But I think it might be Britney's time. I think it might be
There
Britney's
you
time.
go. It
So the
is.
last question, Christina, what will be your legacy?
One day, my legacy, or what I'm currently building right now as my legacy, is I just want to see, I want to give more women the opportunity to do the things that they never thought are possible.
Right.
I would just love to know, and I've heard this from people and it's really hard to just fathom it, but like to give women the confidence to do something so bold and courageous. And I think that knowing that I've changed people's lives
Right.
and have allowed them to do something that they never thought is possible is something that's so beautiful to me that I'm just being myself. This is just myself, and
Mhm.
knowing that it's changed the game for so many. And I just think of like the next generation. I think of
Right.
all the little girls from the South Texas border where I'm from,
Right.
where they never thought that they could go and be, a CEO or a congresswoman or whatever they want to be. I think that's just ultimately what I would love as my legacy, is just to know that because of the work that I'm doing and the impact that I'm creating, it's allowed for more people to be unapologetic, be confident, and just create their wildest dreams.
Right. Well, I see you as already well, on your way for that legacy, and I'm super excited to know you and to see your rise. You're already here, and there's just like so like any not the sky, it's like the universe is there's no limit basically, and the impact that I've already witnessed that you've created is huge. I'm really appreciative that invited me to speak at your event. I'm super excited for that. So let the people know it'll be in the show notes, but let the people know how, they can get a hold of you, where they can find you on the socials and all those good things.
Absolutely. Instagram is my preferred platform. You can find me at the Social Butterfly Gal and at Hustle and Socialize. I also have my websites, thesocialbutterflygal.net and hustleandsocialize.com. And I'm on every single social media platform. So you can find me on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, you name it. I'm there, Threads, I'm Twitter, I'm everywhere. So either search the Social Butterfly Gal or on LinkedIn, it's Christina Giovanna Olivarez.
Fantastic. So before we leave, say you wake up tomorrow morning, you do your meditation, you do your journaling. Instagram is gone forever. No words, nothing. What's your next go-to? TikTok?
That could get banned. We don't know.
Right. We don't know.
Honestly, I feel marketing, no matter what medium, it's never going to go away. Like there's either forms of marketing. So even if it is social media and it's not social media, there's still going to be a need to market yourself, whether it's on the old forms of television, radio, email. And so even though social media platforms we don't own, they might go away, there's still a need for taking up space, even in the offline world. So I feel like even if it wasn't, we can move to another platform, we could still have that offline connection. But I think it's ultimately based on the foundations of just marketing in general. And that has been in existence for years. So yeah, I think different platforms, it's very important to be very diverse with your platform. So not just putting your eggs in one basket, like making sure that you do diversify your content, you do diversify your persona, just in the event that social and Instagram might go away. At least you can move on to maybe LinkedIn, or you can move on to TikTok, or, different platforms that are not Meta owned. But definitely marketing in general, it's in existence. It's something that we have to do no matter what.
Right. So at the time when this drops, it's probably going to be end of May, right before your event. Will you have any of your amazing coaching programs? Will those be open? Will they be closed? Where will we be when this drops?
When this drops, we will be on a wait list for my group coaching program called the Confidence Collective. That is a 6-month mastermind for minority business owners who are looking to be more confident when it comes to their online presence and also their offline presence. And it's really built on the fundamentals of public speaking, of networking and connection building and messaging. So there is going to be a wait list, and the program will open up right after the conference. Perfect. As well as my private one-on-one coaching. So my private coaching is more for executive business leaders who are wanting to increase their visibility with their personal brand. And that's also going to be on a wait list that will open up right after the conference.
Fantastic. If any of those things sound interesting to you, you need to immediately go to her account and get on those wait lists, guys. Get on those wait lists, because we're talking to someone that knows her stuff. She's lived it. She's been doing this since she was 8 years old. 8 years old. She's 33 and an eclipse year.
Digital queen.
Well, muchísimas gracias, Christina. I just adore you. I love your energy. I mean, as someone, as a Gen Xer, I love to surround myself with like new blood. I'm like maybe like a little bit Cleopatra like that. Like I need the new blood around me, and it invigorates me. And I just love your vibe and your steez. And like I said, I love being in your orbit. And I've told you many times before, the kids are all right. You're not a kid, but you know what I'm spraying. You're such a great leader and someone that people could look up to, so they could see that anything is possible. To hear your story, thank you so much for sharing it. And I'm excited to see you in June.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. Mwah.
Yeah. There you have it, folks. Christina Olivarez. how amazing her story is, right? I mean, she had all these no's in her face. She did all the things. She went to the schools. She did all the internships. She did all the things that she was supposed to do. But the universe was like, you know what? Let's take all these things that you want to do. Let's figure out how you create an even larger impact. And that's basically what she's doing. She's just turned 33. Imagine what she would have contributed when she gets to my age. At the time of this recording, kids, this is May 16th. This is my final day of my 40s. Final day of my 40s. Tomorrow at 7:55, I will be, as Marie put it in our thread today, half a century, a year younger than hip hop, which is crazy to me because I feel like I'm in this new iteration. I'm evolving because I'm in this new space, and since I'm a multi-passionate, I get into new things, and I always want to collect data and do new things, and so I just feel so young. But according to the numbers, I'm young at heart. I'm young in vibes. I always surround myself with people from all the different age brackets. I hope I don't come off as someone that's, you know, old trying to act young. I'm just being me. And to see someone like Christina, who is actually young in age, time on this earth, and the impact she's doing and what her ultimate goals are, she's going to reach them. She's going to reach them all. The tenacity, the perseverance on this one is serious business. Serious business. I'm excited that in a couple of weeks I'll be in San Antonio and I'll be there, seeing her in her element, seeing her shine in her space. And, on the 24th floor of the Frost Bank Tower, handling stuff and creating all these amazing opportunities and inspiration to women entrepreneurs. It's exciting. It's an honor to be a part of. And I'm just excited also to be in San Antonio. Like I've mentioned before, if you haven't listened to those, I haven't been to Texas in this capacity anywhere near San Antonio. I used to go as a kid, in the back of a Toyota Courier. They don't even make those trucks anymore, kids. Sweating. It was child abuse, basically. But going from San Diego to New Braunfels, Texas, as a kid in the summers, in the dead heat of summers. And then them saying, New Braunfels, now I hear from all my Texas contingencies that New Braunfels is really nice. And it's the place that people from the big city have flocked to and made it like this super nice area to be in. Back in the days, I mean, there weren't even sidewalks. It was like dirt. This was the 80s. And it was like big dreams of going to the big city of San Antonio. And if you listen to the conversation, San Antonio is still a little small-minded, a little, not looked upon as like a great big hub, such as like Dallas or Houston or something like that. So it's a full circle moment. And being in these spaces with these amazing entrepreneurs that happen to be women, that happen to be women of color, that happen to be Latina. I mean, Christina's fourth gen, I'm first gen, and we're building these bridges. And so because of that, it's a full circle moment that I will be in San Antonio on the 24th tower, looking over New Braunfels, which, my brother's father is at, and he was awful to me. And I'll be, overlooking and being like, yeah, I'm here. So taking up space takes up a whole new meaning. And I'm super grateful to Christina for, inviting me to be a part of her journey and be a part of her amazing event this year. It's a reunion of sorts. There's a few folks that I know and I love that are going to be speaking. So it's going to be super exciting. But yes, so all the ways to support. Tell your folks, tell your peeps, tell your friends. 2 new things are coming up. As I mentioned before, I'm co-hosting The Get Down, which is a podcast that focuses more on trends and policies when it comes to emerging tech, crypto, DeFi, all those different things and how it impacts Black, Brown, and Indigenous folks. And then I'll be coming out with a secondary podcast. So Word to Your Mama amplifies diverse voices from all the different industries that I am honored to be a part of. And my tribe is dope. And then this one is called Emerging Tech Journeys, is only going to be focusing on emerging tech, those of color and allies that are building in emerging tech. So emerging tech is whatever is emerging tech of the day. Currently, we're talking about blockchain, AI, spatial web, which is AR, VR, XR, gaming, and beyond. And it's for those folks that are new to the game that might not know the terms, but they can relate to someone that looks and sounds like them. And maybe they hear the story and they understand the why. And that's the goal of emerging tech journeys. Why are people in this space? Why is it so important? Why do we as marginalized communities need to pay attention? So that's coming out. Make sure to keep an eye out for that. So the Get Down, I don't think has any social media. That's under Butterscotch Media, that is owned by Clev Messidor. And then Emerging Tech Journeys is under me, under the Ritzy Periwinkle umbrella. That already has a social media account that we've only posted one thing. We're going to be posting more on there. And then eventually, once we get all the branding and everything done, then you'll see all that. But go ahead and start following that, because I'm going to start creating content that kind of explains my personal journey and why I believe it's so important. And I want to break down, some complex concepts into malleable, chewable pieces, and all those different things. So yeah, man, thank you so much for the support. If you haven't, if there's still time, check to see if there's tickets to Hustle and Socialize. And if you're going to be there, let me know. If you, I don't know if what promo I ran during this episode, but there's ways to work with me, so many different ways. If it comes to, you want to start your own podcast to help amplify for your business, if you want a brand identity audit, which is kind of like a mini coaching session to figure out if you're on the right track when it comes to your business, because I am a consultant and advisor for so many different companies in different industries, and I want to also bring that value to solopreneurs, small and mid-sized businesses. So make sure to clean up whatever you need. I am here. Let's collabo and let's get it together. And as always, we reap.